Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Bad Luck Gamer, and today Divine Mysteries has been released to me and the subscribers for Paizo. So if you want to get the books, like a week before everyone else, you can always subscribe to their subscription model on their website so you can get the PDF and the book sent to you. But this is one of the books that I've been the most excited for. Honestly, this one in particular has been the most anticipated book for me, mostly because we learned about its class archetypes a little bit sooner than the ones in War of Immortals. And I gotta say as well, this book does not disappoint. It's a really good book. But before we get into the overview that we're doing today, I want to let you guys know that Paizo did send me a copy of the PDF, as I said before, but they didn't pay me to make this video. So all thoughts and opinions here are my own, even though this is not the kind of video that I'm really going to be giving much of my opinion on. I'm just going to be letting you guys know what's in this and what to expect from my videos coming up. Also, later today, we're going to be having a stream where I'm going to be going over any questions you guys have. So if you have any questions, you want to get the information early before I release the videos on whatever subsection of the book, then come check us out at either, YouTube or Twitch, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll be answering questions for about 2 hours. That's pretty good. And in addition to this, we're actually going to have a fun giveaway. So as you all know, I've been working with Into the AM, which they actually sent me some new shirts because they got a new deal. But let me tell you about the giveaway we're doing about first. Anyway, we've been doing so well on their website that they gave me some gift codes for $25 off. I got a couple of those, so I figured I could pass it on to you guys who've been buying the shirts so you can get some Christmas gifts or whatever. And it's going to be pretty neat. So that's going to be a part of today's stream. So if you don't want to miss out, I definitely recommend being there. But Into the AM also, in celebration of the holiday season and for this giveaway, have a big deal they want me to let you know about. So as I mentioned before, I really love Into the AM. Their shirts have been really good. I got these new shirts here and I put them through the wash. Everything is hunky-dory. And in fact, this actually isn't the shirt I wanted to show you guys. The shirt I wanted to show you guys is this one, their Magic Brew one, which has a little bit of green screen stuff on it. Unfortunately, there's some black text, but I really like this shirt in particular. But I didn't wear it because the cool part's on the back, and this is the only thing on the front, which is a little sad. But I do love the shirt a lot. That I asked for that one specifically. But they have a massive deal. You can get 60% off on all clothes on the website. And that's not including my 10% discount on top. So you get essentially 60% off whatever we're getting. And since I'm giving away 2 of those free gift cards later today, you can pretty much get a shirt just with those gift cards. It's really, really good. And this deal is going on from the 13th to the 8th. So it's actually already going on now, and you have until December 8th to check out the deal. I'm going to be plugging this in some other videos as well. So if you forget, I'll hopefully remind you. Go check it out. Their shirts are really, really good. And I really, really appreciate everything they've done, all the shirts they've given me, and the great deals that we've been able to pass on to you guys, especially because I love t-shirts. I love graphic tees specifically, and so being able to partner with a company that's giving them away for pretty much real cheap has only been good for the channel. Anyway, so plugging done, let's go ahead and talk about Divine Mysteries. So Divine Mysteries actually is bigger than War of Immortals, page count-wise. Now, whether it has more or less player material than War of Immortals is somewhat questionable. It depends on what you're looking for, and I would say Divine Mysteries is mostly a lore book, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it's going into lore on player-based options, predominantly God. So if you're a player who likes tying your character, like I always tie my characters to a god, or I make a specific choice not to tie my character to a god because the gods are so, prevalent in Galarian. So it's something that I think really fleshes characters out, and they got some really wicked gods. They actually got some new gods as well. But all the core gods, the major gods that they talked about in the core book, besides Gorum, who, rest in pieces, our Lord in Iron, shattered across all the material plane by Akachek. We now have a full-on section on Erasne for those who are interested in her, and we got a lot of really interesting information. They go into a lot of detail on the gods, very similar to how Gods and Magic did before, but a little bit more updated, which I very much appreciate. They also go into some of the lesser gods or divine beings, some of which are some of my favorites, like the goblin gods or the outer gods, which let's talk about Charg real quick. So this thing is awesome. I don't even care what Charg does. I love this strange artifact meat thing that is an outer god. This is what I like. I'm not a big fan. Those of the channel may know I'm not a big fan of like overly humanized gods, or at least in the case of Pathfinder 2nd Edition, I don't like overly mortal appearing and acting gods. I like my gods to be unknowable entities beyond. Like, they don't have to be necessarily like eldritch horror, but I just don't like gods to be something that seems so tangible. And that's a big part of Golarion. And I get that. There's the whole Starstone thing, which, by the way, is mentioned in this book. It's a really fun book. And we all have Yavali, the little psychopomp here, to guide us through the journey. I absolutely love all the lore stuff. And with the new gods they've put it in, this is a really good book. This is really fun. And it's a really fun read. But maybe that's not what you're interested in. And if that's the case, I do got to say that over half of the book, about 2/3 of this book, is dedicated to gods and lore surrounding divinity and gods. So, but they also include things like pantheons and covenants. And I want to make special attention to the pantheon slash partial religion of dwarves. It's a dwarvish religion. It's called Rivethun. And it's very fascinating, but there's actually multiple archetypes directly tied to it. So Rivethun is one I definitely would read up on, because the Rivethun archetypes, which I'll talk about here in a little bit, are really interesting. So yeah, there's a lot of really good lore stuff, but that's a lot of what this book is. And so if that's what you're not interested in, you might want to give this one away until it comes up on like Archive and Nethys, but then you're going to have to wait for a few months. So, it's up to you. I think this book is definitely worth it because I love a lot of the stuff they put into it. But I wanted to let you guys know so you can make an informed decision, especially since I know funds are getting tight for a lot of people. And we're getting into the holiday season, so we can't just splurge on ourselves as much. But beyond the gods, we have the player options. So we have spells, and this is very similar to what we got in Gods and Magic before. But we got a couple new spells I want to make special mention of, which is Benediction and Malediction, which are very similar to Bless and Bane, only they work specifically on AC. So Benediction gives you a bonus to AC, and Malediction gives enemies that fail a will save a penalty to AC. I mentioned this specifically because it's going to be tying very much into an archetype we're going to talk about here in a moment. But they also go into the domains, and while the domains are mostly the same as they were in Gods and Magic, to be fair, I have not gone through each of the domain spells to see the differences, and I don't know if I'm going to do that kind of video. It's a very annoying type of video to do, but we'll see. I do want to make special mention that Delirium was changed to Disorientation, and Void was changed to Nothingness. So we got some name changes. Though they have some similar features. I think Disorientation got a little bit of a different initiate spell. And we also got a new domain, the Dragon domain, which is really cool as well. So yeah, if you want to pray or worship dragons or have some dragon god giving you powers, the Dragon domain is really, really cool. So that's something I'm very, very hyped for. But of course, I think the number one thing that everyone is wanting with this particular book are the class options slash archetype options. And this book starts off with a banger with the Battle Harbinger. So the Battle Harbinger is a cleric class archetype that sacrifices its spellcasting more so than a war priest does to make a true martial cleric. They did it. They did the thing. They actually made a cleric that gets the same martial proficiencies as martial characters. You get martial weapon proficiency at the same rate that other martials besides fighter do. And that's really, really cool, especially because they kind of did the Magus thing. You get this bounded spell casting, which you can see on the spell list over here. So you do get some spells, and your divine font has been changed to a battle creed where you get to use Bless or Bane. And Bless and Bane are now based on class DC, which the Harbinger actually gets. Well, they don't get any higher than expert spellcasting, but they get legendary class DC. And I don't think a lot of people understand how really powerful that is. There are so many options in Pathfinder 2nd Edition that are based on class DC, and being able to get legendary proficiency in that makes the Battle Harbinger a really, really good class. There's a lot of options to that. But we're going to talk about all this in a video. We're going to go over their feats, and I will say as well, though, they are tied to Benediction and Malediction, and they can be utterly devastating if they continue to crit, which there's going to be very, very nasty Malediction builds out there. So keep an eye out on the Battle Harbinger. But next, they actually talked about new champion feats, and it's a return of the Oaths. So if you are a big Oath fan in the Legacy version of Pathfinder 2nd Edition, we're going to be getting them back now here in Divine Mysteries, and it's a pretty good section. Everything has been kind of brought up to their remaster level. Some people are going to hate it, some people are really going to like it, but for those who did like Oaths, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. We also have the new Immortal Herald archetype, which is very fascinating because it's an endgame archetype. You can pick up the Immortal Herald at level 12, which is way later than pretty much every other archetype in the game. And so that means we only get 4 feats to select from this archetype. And there's actually a bunch of feats in this archetype, giving your Immortal Herald a very distinct difference between yourself and other Immortal Heralds. And I definitely got to say as well, the character art for this book entirely is really, really cool. And like, I actually didn't mention this before, but the art in this book is insane. We already got to see Charg earlier, but I love the Immortal Herald they have here for Caden Callian. Really suave looking furry dude here. Also, the gods, the core gods, got like worshiper images. The Gozer one, the little Leshy Gozer one, I'll show you here real quick. So cute, so adorable. I love all the images of not only just the gods, but of course, the followers who your characters will be. And that's the thing that I really like in these kind of books is the character art, the player art essentially is really good and is very like thought-provoking. Now that we have these sections here, it makes clerics seem way more flavorful because we now have some visual representation of what like a cleric or a champion might look for a god. And the gods look really interesting as well, some having new art and new gods being in the book. I didn't mention this before, but in the lesser known god section, my new favorite god came in, Apuk. Looks just kind of like a reaper, but I love his name, Apuk. It's just fun to say, Apuk, Apuk. It's great. So, you know, I wanted to make mention of that. The art is really good, but Immortal Herald is stellar. It's really cool. I can't wait to make the video on that. I'm still kind of digesting all the information because it's got a lot of feats. It's got some of the most feats of a particular archetype, being on the level of like what I call a prestige archetype. But because it's so late level, you don't get to actually select that many options, which makes it very interesting. But we'll get into that in its own video. We got an update to some of the Oracle mysteries that were missing before. Well, the only ones really were Ashes and Time, but we got Blight as well. Now, the Revelation spells are really the only thing interesting here because we don't have the interesting curse-bound kind of shenanigans that we had before, and they didn't release any curse-bound feats, which I think is very sad, and they definitely could have added to this book. This would have been perfect for it. But we got a new type of Oracle with the Blight Oracle or the Blight Mystery, so that's interesting. And some of their focus spells have been slightly tweaked. Again, we'll get into that in its own video, but I just figured I'd make mention, and also the sad fact that there's just no new Oracle Cursebound feats, which I think we really need at this point for Oracle. Then we got the Palatine Detective, a investigator class archetype, which I'm so into because it's going to have my favorite methodology, which is going to be like, imagine you're from Supernatural, right? You're Sam or Dean, and you live in this occult slash kind of divine world where you have angels, demons, and everything in between. And that's exactly what the Palatine Detective is about. It uses divine or occult spells, and it gets these powers from either artifacts or some connections to some powerful objects from the Order itself. The Order, by the way, is like a religion, and it kind of counts as one of the covenants. I don't know if I mentioned this part, but along with the pantheons, we got covenants and other kind of groups that are organized under some kind of special power. And the Palatine Detective really plays into that. So if you like characters kind of who are like Constantine, but a little bit less magic-y, I do think this one's going to be really fun. I really can't wait to play. I wish I could play in more games of Pathfinder 2nd Edition so I could play more characters. It's not fair, Paizo. Why do you keep doing this to me? I already have so many classes I want to play. Regardless, the Palatine Detective is really, really cool. Probably going to be one of the first videos I'm going to do just because I want to learn more about it. So be on the lookout for that. It's probably going to be one of the first ones I'm going to be posting this weekend. Then we have a very fun archetype. It's the Razmiran Priest archetype. It's very interesting because you get to become a cleric, though of not a god, even though Razmir himself would say he's a god, the living god, but you get to do kind of like this phony play on divine magic. In fact, this archetype allows you to multi-class archetype into cleric without, needing to get all the feats, the 3 feats for this particular dedication. But if you do, you become an occult caster. You don't use the occult spell list, though. You use the divine spell list, but all the spells become occult spells. Super fun. And much of this particular archetype is all about kind of being a sham cleric. It's so fun. It's really, really cool. It's really, really interesting. It's perfect for characters who just love being little shitters. So I'm very much looking forward to this one as well. It's going to be a really, really fun archetype. We're going to go over the whole thing. It's really cool. And I'll go into a little bit more of Razmir there because I'm sure a lot of people don't know who even Razmir is. And it's really funny. All you need to know is he's just some wizard who wears a mask and pretends he's a god. That's kind of the whole thing, but it's a lot deeper than that. And then earlier you might have heard that I mentioned Rivethun. Well, there are three archetypes dedicated to Rivethun, the Rivethun religion, which is this dwarven religion that is not quite the same as the normal pantheon, but it's kind of a subculture where they pray to spirits or ancestors. So it's kind of the more spiritualist kind of dwarven religion. And the archetypes are really, really cool. They have 3. So they have the herald, the invoker, and the involutionists, whatever that means. So the herald is more of you kind of get some familiar abilities, but you kind of focus more on focus spells and domain spells, which is kind of interesting. The invoker is more of a martial style of character who gets to there's a lot of spirit damage in all these, by the way, but the invoker is particularly interesting because they get to add bits of spirit damage to a lot of things they kind of do. Really, really interesting. And then the involutionist is actually really interesting because it's more of a spellcaster-based archetype that blends perfectly with being like a beastmaster kind of character. So if you like having animal companions and being a caster, so perfect for a druid, for instance, the involutionist is going to be the one for you. So these are also really, really cool. And I don't know if I want to do a video with all 3 because they're full archetypes, each of them. That would make for a massive video, but I could also talk about Rivethun in that video. So I don't know. Let me know down in the comments. Do you want one video talking all about all the Rivethun stuff to get you updated that's going to be an hour and a half? Or would you prefer like 3 videos that are going to be like 40 minutes each, 30 to 40 minutes each? I'm very curious to see what your guys' overall opinion is on the matter, but the Rivethun one is very, very interesting. And finally, new witch patrons. We got some new witch patrons and the updated versions of the Baba Yaga and the Mosquito Witch. So if you are a witch, there are some new things here, which I'm actually super stoked about because I've already confirmed that the next character I'm going to play is going to be a witch. And with new patrons, we get some new cool features, new cool familiars. And I'm very hyped about this one in particular. So this one's really, really cool. So a couple of these are divine, which is pretty cool because we didn't have really many divine ones before, but they're not really divine in the normal sense. Like the 2 that they have here that are divine are the choir politic and the paradox of opposites, which are both very fascinating and aren't about gods as necessarily as about cosmic balance between divine and mortal beings. It's very, very cool. So, overall, Divine Mysteries is absolutely hype. It's got all the lore stuff you could ever want about any of the gods, tons of inspiration on gods, cultists, or the like. And I gotta say, the class archetypes here feel really good. I know War of Immortals kind of scarred a bunch of people on class archetypes. A lot of people had some wild expectations. And I feel like these here are going to be a little bit better. I know Battle Harbinger has already been getting some guff online. And I don't know what y'all are talking about. It's really cool. And it's a playstyle in itself. So we'll talk about that. I want this to be a hype video, right? I want to talk about all the cool things coming out in this one. And we'll get into the nitty gritty in some other videos. I think this book is really cool. I think it's incredibly worth it. So be on the lookout. It's going to be releasing about a week or so after the release of this video. And by the way, talking about this video, don't forget, we're streaming later today. We have a big thing. We're going to be talking about Divine Mysteries. You can Q&A all you want. And we have the giveaway for a couple of $25 gift codes to Into the AM. So if you want any of these really cool shirts that I've been getting and showing off in some of my videos, and you too want your green screen to mess up when you're wearing these shirts, then I definitely recommend checking that out. And as well, leave this video a like. My videos always tend to be some of the first that release when it comes to a new book release. So I want everyone to be aware that even if you are clicking on other people's videos to see their opinions on things, don't forget to leave a like. It's really important in tabletop that we show the algorithm that people are interested in tabletop. And it's one of my main things that I want people to be interested in tabletop. So go ahead, like the video, like anyone else's videos that you particularly like about TTRPGs. And if you want to see everything that's coming out with Divine Mysteries, I recommend subscribing. It's going to be a big book. I'm so excited about so many of the things in here. And I would like for you all to see it. I would like for you all to be hyped about this as we go into the new year, not knowing what's coming next. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. Good luck with your games. Leave the bad luck to me, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.